Welcome to this rapid revision session looking at the rebuilding of the Nazi Party between the years 1924 and 1928. These are sometimes referred to as the lean years of the party, where they didn't have a huge amount of success. The situation in 1923 was as follows. In November 1923, the Nazis had launched a disastrous putsch to seize power. Hitler was sent to prison, though this was a relatively comfortable prison and he only served about 9 months of an already lenient 5-year sentence. Conservative judges had allowed Hitler to use the trial to promote his ideas, but most people expected the Nazi Party to be finished, like so many others. However, Hitler and other Nazi leaders used the subsequent years to change tactics and attempt to take power legally. The first major development was the book Mein Kampf. This was written while Hitler was in prison. Mein Kampf translates as My Struggle. The book was part memoir and life story, part political manifesto, and part racist and anti-Semitic rant. Key themes in the book included the idea that Germans were Aryans destined to rule the world, the myth that Jewish people wanted to undermine Germany through parties like the SPD and through industry, nationalist ideas like overturning the Treaty of Versailles. He also included the idea of Lebensraum, or living space, which effectively meant invading other countries and settling them with Germans. There were some socialist views, like using profits to benefit workers and not the big industrialists. But also themes of totalitarianism, getting rid of democracy and handing complete control of all aspects of society to Hitler and the Nazis. But he also mentioned some traditional values, such as family and distinct traditional roles for men and women, and a rejection of new art forms. Having changed tactics, the Nazis also needed to be reorganised. Treatment of the Nazis had been very lenient after the Munich Putsch, considering they'd tried to overthrow the government. Hitler was released from prison in December 1924. Not long after, the ban on the Nazis was lifted on the 16th of February 1925, with Hitler publicly relaunching the party later that month, as can be seen in this photograph. Hitler had learned that seizing power violently would not work. They would instead focus on winning elections. As part of this, a national party was set up. Based in Munich, it would have different sections to organise activities for women, young people, finance, etc. Effectively, it was organised like a mini-country, with different departments, and with Hitler in the lead. The Sturmabteilung stormtroopers remained, and they would continue to intimidate and fight opponents. So what did this new national structure look like? To broaden the reach of the party, Germany was divided into constituencies called Gau, with each led by a governor called a Gauleiter. These would allow local organisation and campaigning. The Gau of Germany can be seen in this colour-coded map. Through this system, Gregor Strasser became increasingly powerful in the north, and Joseph Goebbels in the Rhineland. This system also made it easier to fund the party, with some prominent industrialists who agreed with Nazi ideas making significant donations to the party. This was against the backdrop of backstabbing and competition. Hitler preferred people to force their way to the top as a means of guaranteeing loyalty to him only. This was also the time that the SS was created. The experience of the Munich Putsch had made Hitler wary of the SA. By 1930, it had expanded into a massive organisation of 400,000 people. For the time being, their thuggish behaviour was still useful to Hitler, but the men attracted to the SA were also unpredictable and hard to control. They were also increasingly loyal to their leader, Ernst Röhm. Hitler saw this as a threat, and he sent Röhm abroad. A new group was set up to be Hitler's personal bodyguard in 1925, the Schutzstaffel, or Protection Squad. Under the leadership of Heinrich Himmler, the SS expanded to include 3,000 members by 1930, and by 1932 had a menacing reputation and a distinctive black uniform. The next major part of the restructure was the Bamburg Conference of 1926, more of an attempt to bring people into line in truth. Splits in the party were developing at a local or Gau level. Hitler organised a conference to deal with it, as some Gauleiters were siding with the left of the party, some with the right. Hitler wanted them all to follow him. The left of the party were based in the northern and industrial areas. Strasser and Goebbels were prominent supporters of this wing of the party. They were focused on socialist ideas, such as redistributing wealth from landowners to workers. And then we have the right of the party, which was based more in the south and rural areas. It emphasised the nationalism and anti-Semitic ideas of the party. This was Hitler's side of the party. Hitler made a show of allowing figures like Strasser to speak at the conference, but it was very one-sided. Hitler spoke for 5 hours, likening the left of the party to the Nazis' hated enemies, the communists. It was a persuasive argument. Goebbels abandoned Strasser, and as a result was awarded the position of Gauleiter of Berlin, a very important position in the party. Strasser felt forced to pledge his loyalty, but Hitler sidelined him and eventually had him murdered in 1934 during the Night of the Long Knives. More on that in a future video. The conclusions, though, of the Bamberg Conference were clear. Hitler was in firm control, and the National Socialists had become more nationalist and less socialist. But their big problem was that they still had little support. This is why it's sometimes known as the lean years of the Nazi Party. One reason for this was Gustav Stresemann. Hyperinflation was over, and American money through the Dawes and Young plans had improved the standard of living for many Germans. The SPD or Socialist Party had won 30% of the vote in 1928, an impressive result in Germany's election system that relied on proportional representation. International relations also helped. Germany's status in the world was improving, and relations with former enemies gradually being repaired. The Locarno Pact and Kellogg-Briand Pact, as well as Germany joining the League of Nations in 1926, undermined Nazi nationalist arguments. In particular, the Kellogg-Briand Pact was an agreement by many countries not to declare war on each other. That completely went against Hitler's plans for Lebensraum. Germany, though, was becoming influential in the world again, and that made people feel good about the Weimar Republic. Another reason was President Hindenburg. In 1925, World War I hero Paul von Hindenburg became president. His support for the Weimar system of government was persuasive to nationalists who might otherwise have supported the Nazis. And finally, there's the working classes. German workers had seen their quality of life improve in the mid-20s, the so-called Golden Twenties. Urban populations did not want to support a party of protest like the Nazis while times were good. In the 1928 election, only 1% of votes in Berlin were for the Nazis. Our final points in summary. Following the failure of the Munich Putsch, the Nazis changed tactics. Hitler wrote Mein Kampf to promote his racial and political ideas. Nazi leadership was overhauled, with local Gau and Gauleiters coordinating local party activities. Nazi groups addressed specific parts of society and government, with finance, youth and women's sections among others. Hitler used the Bamburg Conference in 1926 to assert control and move the party further to the political right. This was further backed up by the creation of the SS. However, support for the Nazis remained low up to 1928, while the German economy was making a strong recovery. As long as Germany's economy remained strong, the Nazis would surely disappear into obscurity. Of course, sadly for history, that wasn't to be, and things were about to change. But for now, that's the end of this rapid revision video. Thanks very much for watching, and if it has been useful to you, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. But for now, that's all. Thanks very much.